Hello everybody and welcome back for more Let's Play Donkey Kong Country 3. In today's episode, we're going to be going to the fourth area, Mekanos. That kind of sounds a little similar to that one area in Xenoblade Chronicles. But anyway, so we're going to be starting this first level in this world here. It's a factory level. And oh my god, we got evil owls shooting cannonballs at us. Wait a second. I know what this is. It's KAOTIK trying to set his brethren as revenge against me for ignoring all his advice and generally treating him like a nuisance. And, you know, and actually being very annoyed with him for asking, because he kept on asking if he wants to repeat those, the very same ones, having to listen through all that and falling asleep, and also falling asleep through them too. Oh, God, I guess, we kind of did deserve all that punishment there, so, anyway, so the gimmick with this level here is that, well, yep, like I said, we got these, evil owls trying to, I mean, I know they got names and all that, though, but I just didn't care. I'm gonna call them evil owls anyway, with some really creepy looking beady eyes there, or just as those huge irises just come out like that too. But anyway, so yeah, what they do is that they'll just constantly shoot at these fireballs from the cannons, and they'll also follow you too as you go along. They're basically like background objects is what they are, because like they stick in the background, but then the fireballs will start shooting over to the foreground. And so sometimes you know, you'll actually notice that the cannonball or the fireballs actually bounce off. Actually, no, now that I think about it, they don't really look like fireballs to me. They look more like those cheesy puffs to me. Like, just take a closer look at it. They literally look like cheesy puffs. I mean, you know, if that was the case, then, I mean, well, either I just probably wouldn't care, though, or maybe that would have been torture for me. Well, I mean, then again, though, it's not that I really hate them, though. I mean, I just didn't really, I didn't really care for the cheesy puffs, honestly. Like, you know, these, well, they also have them in the Cheetos. Like, you know, there's the Cheetos Puffs. I honestly didn't really care for them very much, though, because, well, I don't know, I didn't really like the airy texture I had to them, though. I always prefer the original Cheetos, where, you know, okay, I was trying to switch over to Dixie, but, alright, so I want to talk about, or bring this one up here. So, one thing I don't like about, one of my complaints here is that, you know, you try to switch characters with a select button, but sometimes when they kind of have spaz attack, or they just get frozen plates like Dixie did just now, it doesn't even register the prompt where they actually switch over. Oh my god, Squidder's back. Oh, Squidder, I missed you so much. Okay. So, like, despite, you know, kind of talking a little shit about the, about a couple of the animal buddies, though, I am so relieved that, you know, that Squidder's back in action, and, you know, he's still just as amazing as he was in DKC2. He functions exactly the same as he did, though, so you can just, you know, shoot at the webs, make platforms, and you can also just control the movement of the, when you shoot the webs as projectiles. Oh man, that's actually one of the other saving graces about the animal buddies is having Squidder. As long as Squidder's here, then everything is fine. That's awesome. But anyway, back to the cheesy puffs topic here. So, or the Cheetos puffs. So, yeah, I didn't really like the airy texture of the Cheetos puffs, because, like, you know, I don't know why. It didn't really sit well with me. You know, I've always preferred the original Cheetos and their you know, their crunchy texture too. So. But yeah, one kind of a graphical effect I was gonna say though, and yeah, pardon all my my tangents there. I just can't really seem to help myself whenever I talk about some things and I go off on these tangents. But yeah, this little graphical effect of where, you know, they bounce off in the front and then they just go over to the go a little further there. Well, apparently you can actually be able to go right behind them though, but it kind of throws you off though, because, like, you know, you can't even tell if whether or not they're gonna hurt you, and then you know, once they're done with their animation of them just bouncing off. So I would still have to be careful though. Anyway though, So one thing I gotta say about the factory levels, though, I gotta say, though, I actually fucking love this track that plays here. Like, this track here, it actually fucking slaps, though. Because, like, honestly, folks, you know, not to say the soundtrack is bad or anything, though, because, like, one thing, the entire soundtrack is composed by Evelyn Fisher instead of David Wise. But, like, you know, honestly, I mean, maybe it's only because of my, my very little experience with this game here, but I don't really hum to the soundtracks or the tunes that there are, though. Like, they don't really, I don't really remember much of them or what they seem like, though. And so, like, none of them really seem to stick out much for me, though. Maybe a possible few exceptions, though. But well, okay, I know you're not really hearing the track now because you're just playing the I mean, we're in a bonus stage, and so we're actually just listening to the to that track that plays for bonus rooms. But once we get back to the main level, then you know, we'll definitely see here. So okay, yeah, the bonus level's over. So. But yeah, so I will say, though, you know, despite all that, I gotta say, though, this track here fucking slaps. Like, you know, the way it actually rocks here, and, you know, the way the instrumentation is as well, and also because of how tense it is too. So, like, I would say out of all of them, this would have to be my absolute favorite track in the entire game because of it, you know, because of the way the intensity is for all this here. So, yeah, so that's one thing I can actually remember though, and one I actually really do enjoy. This track fucking rocks. Now this one is a bit tricky too because the way you have to pick up that the steel barrel and then just toss it over, but you know, at least I was able to get that right here. I guess, you know, I probably would have been able to do that easily, but you know, I was kind of struggling a bit here. Oh god, that was close. Yeah, you'll be seeing a lot of close calls when it comes to just having to avoid those like giant cheesy puffs. But yeah, one thing that's also gonna be a little hard, like, you know, as you go along the rope, then you know they'll go in these certain patterns, but then you know they'll just keep on following you regardless. So you know, just avoid them as best you can. Nothing else you can do about them though, because you know they're mainly just in the background. So that's all there is to it though. So can I just talk about go back to the Cheetos conversation, Cheesy Puffs conversation now? I know that it was kind of like that. Oh hey, another card collected. Again, probably still for the DK challenge, but oh yeah, another so this is another one of the Brothers Bear. This is Bazooka. I don't know exactly, I can't remember what side quest he has for it. So I see that he was from the military, so you know, he was from the Crimean War, so so he decided to retire, and then well, he's still wearing his military attire. So I mean, you know, despite the fact he's still retired, maybe he just kind of wants to you know, still wear that in his honor for the memories and all that, though. Well, I mean, he still has his ribbons over there, his badges over there, so his badges of honor, so. But anyways, yeah, they also had these cheesy puff balls, but I think they still do though. But I just remember, like, you know, first time, you know, just that first time just having the Cheetos puffs, and you know, I just didn't really care for the architecture out there, so. Alright, so this here is, well, I guess kind of a callback to, once again, the MyCar levels, only this time it's not so much that, we're actually, well, I mean, for this one variant, we're riding on this bobsled inside of a drainage pipe. One actually cool thing about those, they can actually just be able to hold on to the handrails that are up on the ceiling, so that way there you can actually just get some leverage on them. And if you want to go down, then you just press down the control pad and while pressing the B button too, so there we go. This one is pretty fast-paced as well because, you know, you're just going like straight through the level in this bobsled too. So I guess you know, this game has its own kind of variant of these levels, like, you know, like in a DKC1 where you know, just has those basic MyCar levels. DKC2 had these roller coaster rides with the skull as the as a card, or the card itself from roller coaster. In this game's case, it's a bobsled, even though we're not really in the snow level. I mean, we'll probably just see that again in the in one of the later levels in a snow area. But we're just using the bobsled in a drainage pipe, which kind of defies all logic here, considering you know, the way the materials or the texture is on all floors there. But whatevs. I guess I was already just kind of grown numb to the occasion of just questioning the game logic here. Now, when you're doing these bonus levels, you actually want to be as precise as you ever can, though, because, like, you know, especially when it comes to collecting the stars, and also for that one, oh, yeah, be careful as you go down those little holes here, those indentations, because if you hit the wall, you will lose your partner, or you'll lose a life. So, one thing to be careful for, you know, just you know, try not to run to the wall here. And then right at the end, we have another DK emblem here for this coin here. One thing that's to note is that after you collect the DK emblem from them, then those books will actually just have their regular trash can lids. What seems to be trash can lids, just holding onto them and using them as shields. Which, of course, they've always held on to if you actually look closely enough, and then you'll see they'll be holding on to them. They just seem to attach the DK emblem onto the lid itself. Alright, so now that I've pretty much shown off all the mini-games that we have for Swinky Sideshow, then I'm actually going to stick with Race to 25, because it's actually the one I can be able to do the most so. This one, I still wasn't able to reach up to 25, though. I mean, I was still able to be cranky, but I still couldn't really reach to 25, because you have to get up to 25 points, and make sure you have a higher score than the cranky, so that way there you can actually get these special bonus prizes, but in this instance, I still wasn't able to. I still got lower than 25, so, but I was still able to be cranky, so, I mean, I still got better prizes for it anyway, than the actual consolation prize, so. You know, now that I think about that, I guess it's been ages since I ever went to a carnival, though. Well, I mean, well, I guess, you know, not so much with theme parks, though, but, like, you know, carnivals in general, though, because, like, Oh, let's see. Have I been to an actual carnival? I mean, there was that one carnival that they held back in my elementary school that, well, didn't really seem like so much as carnival per se, though. Well, I mean, it kind of seemed like it though, but you know, it was kind of more simplistic and didn't really have these rides. And oh yeah, Cranky being the sore fucking loser that he is, though. But but yeah, there were these like all they had though back in elementary school were more simplistic, where you know they just had these moonwalk inflatable castles and all that, and there's also well, I think there were some games associated with that as well, but I don't think I really have been to actual carnivals though. Not like kind of theme parks, like you know, especially the major ones, like in Disney World or Universal, because you know, since I've already visited them enough times, but like actual standalone carnivals, then that you know, I'm not sure. I can't remember if I ever went to those though. Maybe it was a Strawberry Festival that I went to though. If you guys know about that, you know, the Strawberry Festival. But anyway, let's go talk about this level here. So this here is Ripsaw Rage, and the gimmick here is that you know, we have this giant saw, the Ripsaw, that we basically had to avoid it because you know we fall into them, then obviously we die though because they're very sharp, and it's actually one of the rare instances of or I mean instances I kind of mispronounced that here. In which, you know, it's actually a vertical auto-scrolling level. So, yeah, kind of different ones here. You know, just an auto-scrolling level, except it's just vertical, or just goes vertically. But, you know, that's all it is here. You know, just have to avoid that buzzsaw. That's, well, I mean, the ripsaw. I mean, it's not really so much a buzzsaw. I mean, because they're just, like, circular, and you just activate them. But, yeah, a giant ripsaw, and, you know, especially if you're playing as a toddler like Kitty, and he's just in this very, very high-stakes situation there. Huh, man, what a good babysitter Daisy is. Or, did I say Daisy? Dixie! God damn. Getting these two mixed together. I'm so sorry, folks. There's major brain fart. I mean, I know, like, you know, canonically there is a Daisy. Well, Princess Daisy, I mean, you know, in the Mario universe, even though they both share the same universe as Donkey Kong, but I don't know. Maybe there could be a Daisy Kong and all that, though, but anyway, so now that I've actually talked about the whole gimmick of this level for why you have to just, you know, avoid the whole ripsaw, there is actually something I do want to bring up, though. So, like I actually mentioned, the entire soundtrack is composed by Evelyn Fisher, and so it's actually playing this rather tense music here because, you know, just avoiding the saw here. But here's something that I actually know about here. So, in the GBA port of Donkey Kong Country 3, like as you probably already know, the whole Donkey Kong Country trilogy has had these remade versions on the Game Boy Advance, and so this also applies to this game here. So here's something that I actually want to bring up that, you know, sounds very much like a soundtrack dissonance here, is that oh yeah, this is actually one of those asshole things where, you know, to get out of the bonus barrel, there's actually no way to get rid of that buzz, so you literally have to sacrifice one of your partner to get that bonus barrel. That's actually a real dickheaded placement for the buzz here, and also that bonus barrel. I hate it when they did that, but anyway, so to go back to the GBA port. So the first two of the DKC trilogy and the GBA port, you know, they actually still use the exact same soundtrack as they did in the SNES version. However, in DKC3, the soundtrack for that game is entirely different. Like they actually use an entirely different composition for the soundtrack, where instead of Evelyn Fisher, it was actually David Wise who came back to compose the soundtrack for the GBA port of this game here. And so because of that, you know, they actually just, you know, completely redid or recomposed the entire soundtrack for this game here. So because of that, one thing I do want to bring up, in Ripsaw Rage, despite the fact that you're in a very dangerous situation, that's a like very critically life or death situation against a saw here, wanna know what soundtrack they were actually playing? They're actually playing a much more upbeat and happy track that plays here. That, you know, that sounds you know, very much more positive and, you know, just happy in general. Despite the fact that you're in a very dangerous situation, potentially dying and just, you know, getting cut to pieces, like, you know, like they play them playing you know, just this very positive and, you know, happy track on this right here. And that actually got me thinking, just listening to that, and I go like, oh, yay, I'm going to get torn to pieces, chopped to pieces, and then also a bloody pulp, and it's going to be bloodstained everywhere. I'm going to die. Whee! Yeah, that kind of thing. So, like, yeah, major soundtrack dissonance there on that level here. I'm pretty sure they actually play that very same track on all the other vertical tree levels, or tree hollow levels. But yeah, it's actually being a level where, you know, where you're in a very, very dangerous situation against that ripsaw, and it still plays happy music on that too. Like, damn. way to actually just, you know, get some positive vibes on the fact that we're gonna die pretty soon. So, but anyway, so yeah, back to the next factory level. So this one here, we have these new enemies here. Those are called bazookas, which is very much misspelled. They actually use a U in this one. So they would say like bazooka or bazooka or something like that here. But I mean, they're just pronounced bazookas, just with the U. Which is weird because there was already one of the Brothers Bears named Bazooka, you know, the military guy. Also, this one's very strange there too because, like, you know, I was trying to toss the TNT barrel over to that one bazooka, and it didn't seem to work at first. And then I exited from the camera itself, and then the bazooka just disappeared. So, like, I don't know if it was the residue from the TNT barrel or just from the after explosion effect, or maybe they just spontaneously combusted or something. I don't know. It was weird, so, I mean, it was convenient, but, you know, just so weird either way. Alright, so it looks like for the majority of the, of this, factory level here is that you'll be playing as Squitter. Actually, as a matter of fact, I actually remember this much, though, is that, you know, pretty much all the factory levels, or these, industrial factory levels, you'll actually be playing as Squitter a lot of times. So, that's actually one thing that, you know, maybe one of the reasons why I probably would enjoy these kind of levels, though. I mean, not only for the damn good soundtrack or the damn good track that's playing right now, but also because, you know, you get to play as Squitter a lot of times. You know, I've already mentioned, you know, back then how awesome Squitter is. You know, definitely one of the best animal buddies to play as. All right, so to get this DK emblem, we see that there's nothing but barrels being shot over towards. So what you do is that we actually saw the other barrel that had the letters on them. See the barrel with the letter S. If you touch that, then it actually changes to the steel barrel. So, you know, S actually stands for steel. The other one that actually had, even though it had S over it, was supposed to say W, which is supposed to spell out the first letter for wood. You know, change it to the wooden barrel. So, yeah, by touching that, then the barrels actually change to between the steel barrels or the wooden barrels, depending on what letter is shown right there. So, so that's why you had to touch it to turn them into steel. So that way there you can actually be able to get that DK emblem that you otherwise couldn't do. So. Now, you know, one thing I actually noticed, though, in playing through this game is that, you notice how when we get to the animal buddies, you actually see that, that for the most part, we actually play them solo, because, like, you know, we never really get to ride on them, because, like, so far the only level in which we actually did ride on one of the animal buddies is Ellie, but that was, like, in the very first level of the game. In the first world, where, you know, the only instance in which we actually see the Kongs riding on Ellie on her back. But then for the rest of the levels, you actually notice that that's no longer the case. Where, you know, now we actually just where the animal buddies actually go solo, like, you know, they just go the solo ones. So I guess, you know, after the point where, you know, after the first level where we ride on the animal buddies' backs, and, you know, afterwards, and that's when the developers decided that that they just want to go for a solo run, because I don't know, I mean. Because, like, no matter what it is, because, you know, they're functionally still the same, whether we have the Kongs riding on their backs or if they go solo. Oh, yeah, I kind of wasted a bit of time there because I was just jumping off that bazooka, but it's always best to have Dixie to glide over to there. I guess you probably could bounce off those barrels to be able to go across, although they actually still get destroyed even afterwards, so there was no other way. So you would actually need Dixie to glide over, and you have to make sure to play as Dixie too, because, you know, I guess it seems that Kitty won't be able to get to that bonus barrel over there. But I guess the developers must have realized that, you know, since the animal buddies both function the same, whether the Kongs are riding on the backs or if they go solo, then maybe having that kind of aspect, the aspect with the back riding, is that it probably seems pointless to them. So I guess that's probably the reason why they decided to go for the animal buddies going solo for the rest of the game. I mean, that's probably one thing, and that's as far as I remember, because I don't remember what the rest of the levels would be like in that instance. But, you know, that's just all I can remember at this point. So all right, this level here, low gravity labyrinth. So for what we see with low gravity, we can see here that not only is our movement pretty slow, but also the gravity is so low is that we can actually be able to jump higher here. And honestly, though, it's actually pretty smooth and pretty nice here. Because, like, you know, I don't know, I guess I seem to like, you know, when characters actually get pretty floaty when it comes to the, especially in those lower gravity levels. You know, they just be able to jump higher and just reach up to higher platforms, and so they're, you know, go slowly too, and then they just flow downwards. It actually, I don't know why, it's actually a nice feeling to it too. I guess that's part of the reason why, like, you know, whenever I would play Super Smash Brothers, and then I would actually seem to, you know, kind of have some enjoyment playing some characters that are floaty. Like, I would say Sora, for instance, where, Sora was actually pretty floaty whenever I was playing as him. And because, when he descends down, so... I mean, I don't know. I guess it kind of does feel comfortable when I play as him in Smash Brothers, or in Smash Ultimate, actually. And I say just Smash Ultimate because, since he was only in that game, and, as the very last fighter. But anyways, so you actually see a lot where those buzzes are actually in their formations here, and I didn't really see any barrels to toss them over at. So, unfortunately, I'd actually attempt to throw Dixie up to the bonus barrel, but I guess it wasn't high enough, despite how high I was being here. I guess you have to wait till the buzzes go to the other side, but it's actually very risky either way, so... Like, literally the only way I have to get to the bonus barrel is actually just by, actually just getting hurt myself, and then, because every time you actually go on top of those, otherwise invincible enemies, and then you actually lose your partner, then somehow your early partner actually just skyrockets upwards to a higher place, so that's actually one thing you could use to your advantage, is to just, just to get a higher boost, but, yeah, it was literally the only way, and I guess there was no other way at all, so... Alright, so another variant turning animal buddy. We have Quax again, and, just like with DKC2, Quax, he can't really show the nuts here from his mouth, or just regurgitate them. But here's actually one thing he can do, though, is that, actually one thing that's kind of improved upon him is that, maybe not so much that, though, because, because of low gravity, then he's able to fly anywhere instead of just having to descend downwards. Like with a parachute panic. But there's actually one thing he can do now though, is that, he can actually be able to pick up objects like those barrels, and then that's actually the only way he can attack those other enemies, just by picking up those objects, and then just either making contact with them, or just dropping them down to where those enemies are, and then that's how they kill them, though. So it doesn't really have any kind of just attacks himself. So he would just have to attack just by picking some things up and then tossing over at them. So yeah, that's all I can do at this point, though. So. Either way, he's still kind of the oddball in the family, and god damn it, I just want to pick up that DK barrel and just get the other continue, and I still get hit anyway. So like, it's hard to avoid those guys really. Well, because of the gravity effects here, and now we're playing as Squawks again. So yeah, they had to, just because of the fact that it's a lot easier for Squawks because he's able to shoot out projectiles. As a matter of fact, maybe they're not really so much nuts, though. They're actually supposed to be eggs, because, if you actually take a closer look, and they're supposed to be, literally supposed to be eggs, so that's always kind of one of those debates that people have, is that, the things that Squawks would shoot at just be either nuts or eggs, so... I mean, I guess you could say that, kind of similar to the one debate about Execute, is that, Pokedex entries say that they're supposed to be seeds, but then other Pokedex entries kept contradicting themselves and called them eggs. Like, what the hell even are they? I just remember seeing that one video from Jay Witz, where he actually goes and talks about that kind of debate, so... Oh, look at that, an extra light balloon, and another one of those bear coins. I'm actually getting pretty good on just being able to find more of those bear coins, and so... Because, I'm pretty sure we might be needing those bear coins, I guess, for later use. Maybe for some of the Brothers Bear side quests. Actually, as a matter of fact, there's actually, I know a couple of those Brothers Bear we never really got to do, though, because, well, for one thing, I can't really remember what we're supposed to do with them, though, but I think we're not really supposed to actually partake in their kind of side quests, because they don't have them anything for us, though. And also, I did a little jump cut. This one's a bit tricky because, because of the way you have to toss that steel barrel over, you have to make sure to have it precise here. And especially, well, actually, no, there was another one. I don't know if this one respawns, though. But it kind of looked like, since whenever Quax dematerializes, and that's when the steel barrel will appear, but you only get one shot of that here, though. But I did see another steel barrel. I don't know if that one respawns in case you actually missed that one steel barrel. We're trying to get that DK emblem. But I don't know. Either way, I had to do some jump cuts just to get that DK emblem. All right, so all the way to the end, boss time, Chaos Carnage. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is actually where things get pretty interesting here. So we'll just wait for, yep, there he is right here. It's a giant android foam mascot that we're fighting against. Kind of surprised there wasn't really any bosses based out of Apple or like the Typhoons, but anyway, so this here is Chaos, and so Chaos is actually pretty interesting here, and so this is actually where, things, kind of get a little turn here. So, according to the lore, Chaos is actually something special here, where according to the lore, this guy, I kid you not, is actually the reason why that Donkey and Diddy Kong went missing. And so he's actually he's supposed to serve as a major antagonist for that entire game, though. So I guess, you know, we still have yet to encounter K. Rool, though, if he's actually no one responsible for anything, though. But overall, we actually find out that, you know, since Chaos is apparently the one in charge, you know, and just leading the Kremling crew in the Northern Chromosphere, so I guess for now he'd be the de facto antagonist that we have to deal with. And so I guess, you know, him being responsible for DK and Diddy going missing. And I gotta say, though, the design, well, I mean, it's supposed to look pretty menacing, though, and, you know, kind of intimidating. But you actually take a closer look, you see those little mini shoes on the bottom of those legs, and now it's kind of hard to take seriously. And there's also that little mini mixtape machine that's in the middle here, too. So what we have to do with Chaos here is that, well, we're now on the second phase, where he actually reveals that head with the sunglasses. But what we have to do here is that he's gonna go and move left and right, and so you have to avoid his exhaust fumes, or, you know, the flames coming from his exhaust from the crotch area. Okay, now I can't take him seriously anymore. But yeah, once he actually stops there, then he's gonna create those platforms from the sides, and they always rotate around, so it's actually very tricky to get onto because of how small they are. But you also want to make sure to avoid those punching gloves, because they'll just knock you right out from the platforms themselves. And so after that's done, then make sure you want to try to go on top of his head, so that way there, you actually be able to take damage against, well, I should say it, though, because it's supposed to be a robot. But you want to make sure to just, you know, just bounce on top of its head. That's how it takes damage. And so once it gets to the second phase and removes its first head, then the previous head will go and shoot these lasers at you. It'll keep on following you around. It'll shoot its lasers at you. But just do the same as before, just by going on those platforms, and then just continue jumping on Chaos, and then that's how you get him here. So gotta say, though, despite the fact that Chaos is supposed to be the de facto major antagonist for this whole game, this is actually our first encounter against it here, and in one of the levels, no less, just treated as a regular boss. So, but I guess, you know, that's also the reason why, because, you know, it has special dialogue unlike the other bosses of the other games. So, and just, you know, plotting its revenge, you know, just wanting to win. So yeah, that's probably the reason why, just having its dialogue right here, or its own kind of piece of dialogue, because, you know, it being actually important and integral to the plot here, because, you know, because of the fact that, you know, since it was the one responsible for DK and Diddy going missing. Also, while they were sleeping, according to the game's lore, is that, you know, they actually got kidnapped while they slept. So yeah, so now we actually know what's going on, and so we know who's responsible. So we'll have to encounter him again here. But with all that said, Mekanos is done, and so we'll be able to head to our next area. But we got those two skibos, so we'll just go to Funky's Rental. So next time on Let's Play Donkey Kong Country 3, we're going to be seeing about going to our next world. So until then, or next area, I meant to say area, though. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.